She offered herself to save her child, but he gave them hope instead. The cold halls of the council tower stretched high into the clouds of Salira's world. The walls shimmered with alien symbols that shifted with every step, and the air smelled faintly metallic. Salira walked slowly, her small child's hand gripping hers tightly. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from the knowledge of the impossible choice she had made. She had brought herself here willingly. Her child, a bright-eyed little girl named Lyra, had no idea how close to death they had come. The ruling council of their species demanded a tribute for the failures of their home city. Lyra had been chosen, selected from thousands of children, because the council claimed that she could teach a lesson to the populace. Salira's hands trembled as she stepped into the vast chamber. The floor was polished black stone, reflecting the towering figures of the council members. They were enormous beings with long, rigid limbs and faces that seemed carved from crystal. Their voices were like sharp glass, cutting through the air with cold authority. "You dare to come here, Salira," one of them said, its voice echoing across the hall. "You know the rules, you know the consequences." Salira lifted her chin. Her throat was dry, but her voice did not falter. "I know the consequences," she said. "That is why I offer myself in place of my child." A murmur ran through the council chamber. The other members tilted their heads in surprise, a sound like scraping stone against stone. Offering oneself for a child was unheard of. It was weakness, they thought. And yet she stood there, small but unyielding, and did not seem afraid. The council laughed, a sound that reverberated like thunder through the hall. "Weakness," one of them said, leaning forward. "Do you think the law bends for sentiment? Do you think we will accept your sacrifice? You are nothing but a mother, you cannot barter with your emotions." Salira's grip on Lyra's hand tightened. "I am a mother," she repeated, "and I will do anything to keep my child alive. Take me, punish me, but let her live." The council did not respond immediately. They looked at one another, the crystal faces reflecting cold judgment. Then another voice, a new one, spoke. It was smooth, measured, and distinctly human. "Perhaps you should listen to her," the voice said. Salira froze. She turned her head, startled. There in the corner of the chamber stood a human, tall, calm, and observing. His dark eyes held no fear, no mockery. Instead, they held something she had never seen from outsiders before: respect. The council hissed. "You are a human," it said sharply. "This is not your concern. Leave before you interfere with the law." The human tilted his head slightly, as if considering the council's words. "It is my concern," he said, "because fear is not justice and cruelty is not law. What kind of empire punishes a child for its failures?" A council member banged its fist on the table. The sound was deafening, making Salira wince. "You speak of matters you do not understand," it shouted. "You know nothing of governance, of order, of survival. You humans are weak. You are children playing at the edge of the galaxy." The human, whose name she would later learn was Elias, did not flinch. He stepped forward calmly. "Perhaps," he said softly, "but sometimes the smallest act of courage can change the fate of many. This child deserves more than fear, and this mother more than a death sentence." The council erupted into chaos. The chamber shook with voices, accusations, and demands. Salira felt the first tear escape her eye, but she did not wipe it away. It was not for herself, it was for Lyra. Her daughter's eyes were wide with confusion and fear. She did not understand what was happening. Salira knelt down, bringing herself to the child's level. "It will be okay," she whispered, trying to convince herself as much as Lyra. "It will be okay, I promise." Elias raised his hand, signaling for silence. Slowly, the room quieted. Every council member's face was fixed on him. Even in the midst of their power, they paused. "I am not here to threaten," he said. "I am here to offer another way. Let me speak for them. Let me speak for the child. Let me speak for the mother." One of the council members sneered. "And why should we listen to a human? What can your species teach us about law or sacrifice?" Elias smiled faintly. Nothing, perhaps. But humans survive by protecting those they love, not by breaking them, by choosing mercy over fear, by refusing to turn away from the smallest voice. The chamber went silent again, this time in uncomfortable awe. Celira felt a strange flicker of hope in her chest. It was dangerous to hope here, but she could not help it. For the first time, someone outside of her own species had acknowledged her choice, not as weakness but as courage. The council demanded that Celira leave her daughter behind. "The child is ours," it said. "This is law. She will serve her purpose." "No," Elias said quietly but firmly. "The child is not yours to claim. She belongs to her mother, and I will not allow her to suffer for your cruelty." A sudden hush fell over the chamber. No one expected such defiance from a human. The council members whispered to one another, their long faces reflecting worry for the first time. Celira's heart raced. Could it be possible? Could this stranger actually save her child? She had learned not to trust easily, especially not outsiders. And yet Elia's eyes never wavered. He did not look down on her or pity her. He looked at her with understanding. And that was a power stronger than any weapon. The council demanded proof. "If your human claims to protect the child, let him demonstrate his authority. Otherwise, you will both be punished." Elias nodded. "Very well," he said. "I will not hide behind threats or weapons. I will speak the truth. The galaxy is watching. All your actions are recorded, and all your cruelty is visible to the systems who have allies beyond this world." A murmur went through the chamber. The council had never thought of themselves as accountable to outsiders. They had ruled for centuries without fear of reprisal, and now they were worried. Celira knelt to hold Lyra close. "It's all right," she whispered again. "You are safe now. Someone is standing with us." The council tried to regain control, but Elia's words were like water eroding stone. They were not used to being questioned, not in public, not by one who spoke calmly, without fear, yet without anger. Hours passed. The council debated, argued, and schemed, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Celira watched as her child clung to her, feeling warmth and protection for the first time. She could almost forget the terror she had felt just hours before. Almost. When the council finally adjourned for the day, they had made no decision. They had not accepted her offer, but they had not taken her child either. It was not victory, but it was a chance, a fragile, delicate chance that might grow into something more. Elias remained by her side as they left the chamber. "You did not have to be alone," he said quietly. "You never will be again." Celira looked at him, stunned. No human had ever offered such reassurance. She had grown up believing that her species' way, fear, submission, sacrifice, was the only way to survive. And yet here was a stranger, showing her a different kind of strength. A strength built on courage, not cruelty. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," Elias said, "we protect her, and we give hope." For the first time in her life, Celira dared to imagine a future where her child could grow up safe, where mercy could be stronger than fear, where humans were not just weak outsiders, but allies with a power the galaxy had yet to understand. The wind blew through the tower's high corridors as they walked. Lyra giggled softly, unaware of the danger that still lingered, but feeling the warmth of her mother and the calm presence of this human. Celira smiled down at her child. For the first time, she allowed herself to hope. Hope was dangerous in the halls of power. Hope was fragile. But hope had come to her in the form of one human who refused to turn away. And Celira knew, deep in her heart, that this small spark could ignite a fire that even the council could not control. She would not have to offer herself. Not yet. Not while Elias stood with them. And in that quiet moment, as the alien city stretched endlessly beneath the clouds, Celira made a vow. She would protect her child, no matter the cost. And she would learn the strength that humans carried, the strength to stand without fear, even against the coldest and most powerful rulers in the galaxy. It was only the beginning. The day after the council meeting, The halls of Lyra's home were quiet in a way that felt almost unnatural. Lyra clung to her mother's side, her small body trembling despite the warmth of the room. Lyra had spent the night thinking, planning, worrying. She had seen the fear in the council's eyes, something she had never thought possible. Yet even as hope stirred, danger still lingered. Elias had stayed close, watching the child with a careful, steady gaze. He moved through the alien corridors with a quiet confidence that made Lyra uneasy. She was used to being the protector, the one who made decisions. And yet, here was a human, an outsider, offering guidance, protection, and strategy. "You should eat," Elias said, noticing that Lyra had barely touched her meal. His voice was calm, patient, like water running over stone. "You will need strength." Lyra shook her head. "I cannot eat," she admitted. "My mind is full of fear. I do not know if the council will act or if my child will survive until tomorrow." Elias knelt to meet her eyes. "Then we will make sure she survives," he said. "Fear cannot protect her. Only action can." Action. Lyra repeated the word in her mind. It sounded simple, but it carried weight she had never considered. Her species had always relied on submission, on obedience, on sacrifice. But action, true action, meant taking risks, confronting power, and refusing to turn away from danger. Over the next hours, Elias worked quietly. He examined every rule, every law, every weakness in the council's control. He did not threaten them, he did not lie. He simply found the truth and prepared to use it. Lyra watched, amazed. She had lived all her life in fear of the council, and yet here was someone moving among them with certainty. Someone who did not bend and yet did not break. "Why do you help us?" she asked him once. Elias looked at her, his dark eyes steady. "Because someone must. Because the universe is full of choices, and sometimes the smallest voice deserves to be heard. Your child, she is that voice." Lyra felt tears sting her eyes. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust him, but she had learned too early that hope was fragile. She held Lyra close, feeling the soft rhythm of her breathing, and wondered if she could ever truly believe in the strength of a human. Night fell, and with it came a tense silence. The council had not sent soldiers, not yet, but Lyra knew the delay was temporary. Their patience was thin. Every moment they did not act was a moment of uncertainty. Elias paced the room quietly, considering the possibilities. "We will need more than words," he said finally. "We will need proof. Evidence that your family is not alone, that others are watching, and that cruelty has consequences." Lyra's brow furrowed. "How can we gather evidence without leaving the city?" she asked. "We have allies," Elias replied. "Not many, but enough. Some trade systems have long records of the council's actions. Others have observed the children taken and lost to the labor moons. If we present this evidence publicly, the council cannot act freely without scrutiny." Lyra swallowed hard. It sounded almost impossible. She had never imagined a world beyond her own, beyond the suffocating control of the council. And yet Elias spoke of it as if it were within reach, clear, simple, achievable. Morning came, and with it the council's first move. A delegation of enforcers appeared at Lyra's home, their sharp limbs and piercing eyes radiating authority. Lyra shrank back behind her mother, frightened by the sight. Lyra stepped forward, holding her daughter close. "We will go with you," she said. "But we will not accept harm to my child." The lead enforcer hissed, its voice like grinding stone. "The council has decided. The child is to be taken." Elias stepped between Lyra and the enforcers. "That is not acceptable," he said. "The child is under the protection of Earth. Any harm will be recorded, observed, and reported to the systems. There will be consequences." The enforcers paused. They were trained to obey, to follow orders without question. But here their authority was challenged, not by force but by calm certainty. Elias did not threaten. He did not shout. He simply stated the truth. Hours passed as the enforcers debated among themselves. Salira held Lyra close, her heart hammering in her chest. She had never seen power so quiet, so precise. It frightened her, but it also gave her hope. Finally, the enforcers withdrew. For now, the lead said, its tone reluctant. But the council's patience is short. Elias turned to Salira. This is only the beginning, he said. They will try again. We must be ready. Salira nodded, her mind racing. She had always believed that survival meant submission, but now she saw that survival could mean courage, strategy, and alliances. She had never imagined that one human could make such a difference. Over the next days, Elias worked tirelessly. He communicated with trade systems, collected records of the council's actions, and built a network of observers. Each night, he returned to Salira's home, sharing updates and plans. Salira watched him, trying to absorb the lessons of his presence. She learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. She learned that mercy could be stronger than cruelty, that strategy could be more powerful than brute force. Lyra began to sense the change. She smiled more often, her laughter returning as she played quietly in the corner of the room. Salira felt a spark of hope that she had not felt in years. For the first time, she believed that her child might survive and even thrive beyond the shadows of the council, but danger still loomed. The council would not stand idle forever. They were powerful, ruthless, and deeply proud. Elias knew this. He explained to Salira that the key was patience, preparation, and timing. They could not force the council to act against their nature, but they could guide their actions, expose their weaknesses, and protect the innocent. One evening, Elias brought news that made Salira's heart leap. Several systems had agreed to monitor the situation and document every action of the council. If the council harmed Lyra, there would be witnesses, and evidence of the crime would spread across the galaxy. Salira felt a mixture of relief and fear. Relief that her child was safer, fear of the council's next move. She had never been brave like Elias. She had never believed that one person, one small human, could challenge the might of a ruling empire. But now she saw it was possible. In the days that followed, the council tried subtle threats, messages, veiled warnings, and small demonstrations of power. But each time, Elias met them calmly, with reason and evidence. Slowly, the council's confidence wavered. For the first time, they hesitated before acting. Salira observed this change with wonder. She had grown up believing that her species, way, fear, control, sacrifice, was the only path to survival. And now she saw another way. Courage, intelligence, and compassion could be stronger than terror. One night, as Lyra slept peacefully, Salira spoke to Elias quietly. "I do not understand humans," she said. "I do not understand your strength." Elias smiled softly. "Strength is not always visible," he said. "It does not roar, it does not crush, it stands, it waits, it protects. That is why we survive and why we give hope." Salira nodded slowly, absorbing his words. She felt something shift within her, a determination she had never known. She would protect her child. She would act. And she would learn this quiet, steady strength that humans carried. The council's moves became more desperate. Rumors of rebellion, of observation, of consequences spread among their enforcers. Salira noticed the tension in their ranks, the hesitation in their actions. The same fear she had always felt was now mirrored in their eyes, but this time she was not powerless. Elias prepared a plan. They would bring Lyra to a neutral zone, a place outside the council's immediate reach. There she would be safe, observed by allies and beyond the council's immediate power. It was risky, but it was the first step toward freedom. The night before the move, Salira sat with Lyra, brushing her daughter's hair and whispering promises she hoped she could keep. "You will be safe," she said. "You will grow, you will laugh, and one day you will understand that courage can change the world." Lyra smiled sleepily, not fully understanding but trusting her mother completely. Salira felt a deep, protective love, and for the first time hope began to feel real. Elias entered quietly, carrying plans and supplies. "It is time," he said softly. "We cannot wait any longer." Together, they prepared for the journey. Sailira felt fear, but also determination. She would not let the council take her child. She would not allow their cruelty to define Lyra's future. As they left the safety of their home and stepped into the alien night, Sailira felt the weight of her choice. She had offered herself, but Elias had given her something more: hope. And in the quiet darkness beneath a sky filled with alien stars, Sailira realized that hope was the strongest force she had ever known. The journey ahead would be dangerous. The council would not give up easily. But for the first time, she knew they had a chance. A real chance. The galaxy was watching. And this time, Sailira and her child were not alone. The journey to the neutral zone was tense and quiet. Sailira held Lyra close, her small hand gripping her mother's fingers tightly. Every shadow of the alien world seemed to hide danger. Every distant noise made her heart race. Elias led them steadily, never rushing, never panicking. His calmness was contagious, but Sailira could not shake the fear that the council might still strike. They traveled through narrow canyons, where the wind whistled sharply, and across open plains under alien moons. The landscape was unfamiliar to Sailira, yet she noticed a beauty she had never seen before. Colors shifted strangely in the low light, and the sky stretched endlessly. For the first time, she felt that the universe was bigger than fear, bigger than the council, bigger than sacrifice. "We must move carefully," Elias said. "The council will try to trace us. They will not accept their authority being questioned." Sailira nodded. She had learned that humans survived by observation, by patience, by thinking several steps ahead. It was so different from her species, which acted quickly, violently, and often without mercy. She admired Elia's method, but it made her uneasy. One wrong move could cost them everything. The first night, they camped in the shadow of jagged cliffs. Lyra slept between them, exhausted from the long walk. Sailira sat quietly, watching the stars, her mind racing with what might come next. She remembered the council's sharp voices, their rigid faces, and the enforcers who had come to take her child. The memory sent a chill down her spine. Elias sat across from her, studying a small device that blinked softly in the dark. "We have allies in the systems around us," he said. "They are monitoring the council, recording their moves. Any attack on you or your child will be noticed immediately." Sailira swallowed hard. "Do they understand the council's cruelty?" she asked. "They do," Elias replied. "Many have suffered under similar regimes. They will act when the time comes. But first we must reach the neutral zone safely. Then the council's power will be limited." The next day, as they moved cautiously through a narrow valley, Sailira heard a distant hum. She froze. Elias signaled for silence and crouched low. The sound grew louder. A patrol of council enforcers was approaching. Sailira's heart pounded. She had feared this moment for days. Lyra whimpered, sensing the tension. Sailira held her closer, whispering softly, trying to calm her. Elias surveyed the terrain quickly. "There is a narrow pass ahead," he said. "We can hide there until they pass. Follow me exactly." They slipped into the shadows, moving quietly over rocky ground. Sailira felt every heartbeat echoing in her chest. The enforcers passed close by, their piercing eyes scanning the valley. She held her breath, convinced they would be discovered. But Elia's calm presence kept her steady. After what felt like hours, the enforcers finally moved on. Sailira exhaled, relief washing over her. "I cannot believe they let us go," she whispered. "They underestimated us," Elias said. "They are used to fear, not strategy. We are teaching them a lesson in patience and courage." The journey continued, each step filled with tension and caution. Sailira began to understand something new about humans. They were not the strongest in muscle or weapons. Their strength lay in their mind, their courage, and their unwillingness to give in to fear. She had always thought that only force could protect a child, only sacrifice could ensure survival. Now she knew there was another way. Days passed, and finally, they reached the neutral zone, a small, hidden valley surrounded by high cliffs. It was a place the council could not easily access, monitored by friendly systems and out of immediate reach. Celira felt a strange sense of peace for the first time in weeks. "This is safe," Elias said. "For now. The council cannot reach you here without alerting allies. You and your child can breathe without fear." Celira knelt beside Lyra, holding her tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "I thought we had no hope." Elias smiled faintly. "Hope is not given," he said. "It is created, and you allowed me to help create it." Over the next few days, Celira began to notice changes. Lyra smiled more, laughed more, and even played in the small, open space of the valley. Celira watched her with a mixture of awe and relief. The council had always treated children as tools, nothing more. Here, Lyra was free to be a child. Elias set up communication devices, sending records and evidence of the council's cruelty to allied systems. Celira helped, though she was clumsy at first with the human technology. Every report they sent made her heart race. If the council retaliated, they would be caught in a net of observation. One evening, Elias explained his plan in detail. "We will present a record of your child's survival and the council's actions publicly," he said. "The more systems that witness their cruelty, the less freedom the council has to act, and if they strike, they will face isolation and sanctions. They cannot maintain power under observation." Celira listened, amazed. "You make it sound so simple," she said, "but it is not. The council has ruled for centuries." "No," Elias replied. "They ruled because no one challenged them. Now someone is challenging them, and they are not used to it." Celira felt a surge of determination. She had always believed that survival required submission. Now she understood that survival could mean courage, action, and alliances. But the council was not idle. Messages arrived through strange channels, veiled threats and demands. Celira read them carefully, her hands shaking, and then passed them to Elias. He responded calmly, using logic, evidence, and the knowledge that the galaxy was watching. Each response weakened the council's authority. Each calculated move gave them more space to survive. Lyra began to understand too, in her small way. She noticed the tension, the whispers, and the strange presence of the human who had saved them. She asked questions, innocent but sharp. "Why do they want to take me?" she asked one evening. Celira held her close. "Because they are cruel," she said softly. "But we will not let them. We have people who are watching us, and someone very brave is helping us." Lyra's eyes widened. "Like a hero?" she asked. Celira smiled faintly. "Yes, like a hero." Days turned into a week. Celira's hope grew, but so did her anxiety. She had survived by fear and submission all her life, but Elias showed her that courage could protect more than fear ever could. Each night, she repeated to herself what he had taught her. Fear does not protect. Action does. Courage does. And hope can survive even in the darkest places. One evening, as the sun dipped behind jagged cliffs, a scout ship appeared in the distance. Celira froze, her mind racing. Elias assessed it calmly. "It is a council reconnaissance vessel," he said. "They are trying to track us, but we have time. We will hide the valley and they will find nothing." The tension was unbearable. Celira clutched Lyra tightly, her fingers digging into the child's small ones. They moved quietly through hidden paths, avoiding sensors and scanners. Elias guided them with precision, never rushing, never panicking. The council's ship passed without discovering them. Celira exhaled, relief washing over her. She realized that survival was no longer about hiding or sacrificing herself. It was about using knowledge, planning, and courage. That night, as they sat under the alien stars, Elias spoke again. "They will try again," he said, "but each time they fail, they lose power. Each time their fear of consequences grows." Celira nodded. "I have never understood humans before," she admitted. "I thought you were weak, but you are not weak at all. You are patient, strong, and brave. Elias smiled. Strength is not always visible, he said. It is quiet, steady, and unyielding. That is why we survive. That is why we can protect hope. Salira looked at Lyra, sleeping peacefully between them, and felt a deep gratitude she had never known. She had offered herself to save her child, expecting nothing but loss. And yet, a human had given them something greater than survival. He had given them hope. The days continued with careful planning and cautious movements. Each new piece of evidence sent to Allied systems strengthened their position. Salira learned to trust in observation, strategy, and the courage that humans carried. She felt herself changing, growing stronger in ways she had never imagined. The Council's threats grew bolder. Messages arrived demanding her child's return. Enforcers prowled near the edges of the valley, but each time Elias met them with calm defiance. He did not threaten with weapons, he did not shout. He simply stated the truth, presented evidence, and reminded them that the galaxy was watching. Salira realized that the galaxy itself had become an ally. They were no longer alone. Fear did not control them. Hope did. And in that quiet valley under alien skies, a mother learned that survival could be more than submission. Courage could protect, action could save. And a single human's steady presence could give a future where none had seemed possible. It was only the beginning. The Council would not give up easily. But Salira and her child had learned the power of hope, and that strength was not measured by fear, but by the courage to act in its face.